Welcome to this channel, guys, and thank you very much for being a top subscriber. Our salutation of the day goes to Harrison all the way from Kuwait. Guys, you're such an amazing human being, bro. There is a storm that is coming in the National Assembly because the leader of majority, Amos Kimunya, is scheduled to take a bill in the National Assembly touching on elections. It is actually the Elections Amendment Bill 2021. There are proportions, there are really proposals that is going to tear Parliament into two. And guys, that's my daughter, of course, comes in. These amendments are going to touch into what exactly is going to tear that Parliament into two. I want us to look at these proposals, and first I want to give you an opportunity so that you understand what exactly it's in that amendment bill. Then from that, we are going to look at implications in the political space, and I have seen a very solid reaction from Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Moses Kuria. So before I actually explain for you what exactly is in that amendment, if you're watching this video for the first time and you've not yet subscribed, take a second and subscribe. And then more importantly, also click the notification bell so that when we publish a video, you will be receiving notifications. And also talk to us in the comment section what you think about these amendments, if indeed you have actually read and interacted with it. I spent better part of the morning perusing through different documents and reading articles all over. And of course, I know that I am going to lay it bare to you. But just for us to have an understanding, I want us to use a voter known as Wanjiku and let Wanjiku go to a polling station. I want to take Wanjiku to a polling station and use Wanjiku in this context to help you understand some of the radical changes in that bill. But before I tell you that, I want to inform you that the Amendment Bill of 2021 is not new because it is just a development from the Elections Act of 2016 and Elections Act of 2011. So we shall also try to touch on this. Now, when Wanjiku walks to a polling station and she gets to the identification desk, there is supposed to be a KIMS kit. So in that KIMS kit is where he's supposed to be identified as a registered voter electronically. According to the new amendment, it is actually introducing what is called a comprehensive voter identification mechanism. Now, that comprehensive voter identification mechanism means that if Wanjiku gets there and her name is not electronically registered, they can just revert and look at whether she's also registered manually. So if it's not the KIMS kit, they are going to check the papers. And so in short, it is going to accept manual voter identification. That is it. Now, Wanjiku will vote and leave the polling station. So at the polling station, the presiding officer there is supposed to do, after the vote counting and finding the results, take a screenshot or take a picture of Form 34B. The form at the polling station is Form 34B and sent to the National Tallying Center. The same presiding officer is supposed to take the same form and go to the returning officer at the constituency level, where the returning officer is going to add all the figures, collate, and come with a Form 34A. Then, according to the new amendment, the returning officer is supposed to physically travel with that form to Nairobi National Tallying Center. Now, that is a new amendment that has been introduced because initially, in the Amendment Bill of 2016, that was not there. But remember, it also says, telling the IEBC that in case of any controversy or something is not clear, then IEBC is at liberty to try to harmonize between what was transferred to them electronically and what was sent by the returning officer. But initially, what used to count was what is being reported from the polling station. Guys, I don't know whether there is a difference, because what was sent electronically is what is the Form 34B that was sent by the presiding officer. Now, guys, another amendment to that deal, another amendment to it that has been causing uproar is this one of bringing an end to the live transmission of results. What this means is that unlike 2013 and 2017, where you are actually getting hourly and minutes update, step-by-step updates on the progress of the presidential results, this amendment is proposing an end to that. But initially in the Amendment Bill of 2016, that was put there strategically because it was a proposal from the Kriegler report, so that even the media can have a viable space and can have accessibility to the results. Then these results can be actually be announced later. But you see, my problem with this, with that amendment is, I think if you don't give Kenyans what exactly is happening behind the curtain, it is going to create unnecessary anxiety, and it is not going to prepare Kenyans for the outcome. Now, like in 2016, 2017, and 2013, when Raila was ahead, Uhuru was ahead, I think Raila supporters had started preparing themselves for maybe losing. But in this context, without that, it's when the results come, they will come as a shock to the losing and the winning side. And if it receives people as a shock, you never know of the resultant force. That is one. Two, it is going to open an avenue for propaganda to sail in. If people don't know what IBC is saying, the next day you will see bloggers in Azimio saying Raila is ahead. The other hour you're seeing bloggers in Kenya Kwanza team saying William Ruto is ahead. So guys, I think that need to be looked at very critically. Now, even that amendment is saying that Supreme Court will not nullify the presidential result if they were not transmitted electronically. And do you know why they're proposing this? Now, in the 2017 electronic voter transmission, it was flawed. It had a breakdown, and that is why there was an 800,000 margin, constant margin between Uhuru and Raila Odinga. So I don't know whether this really is the reason why they are bringing this. But I also need to mention to you that I looked at the Amendment Bill of 2016. There is a clause that is saying that procurement, installation of the electronic infrastructure to be used in a general election must be procured 6 months to general election. What this means is now we are past the, not 6 months, 8 months. So if you're in February, it means we cannot even procure another KIMS kit to be used in a general elections. The ones we are going to use are the ones that we used in 2017. Some of them were used in the by-elections and they were even faulty. So this bill might be fronted by the state, knowing that, of course, the kits are already faulty. So those are some of the few amendments that is there. Now, lastly, there is another one that I want to mention to you. According to the Amendment Bill of 2016, the chairman, Wafula Chebukati, was allowed, is under obligation to announce the president-elect if he must not receive all the 290 reports from the returning officer. If he has received 287 and he has felt like the 3 that are remaining cannot change the results, he's at liberty to announce the results. Now, according to this amendment, Wafula Chebukati will only announce the president-elect only and only if he has received all the 290 Form 32A from the returning officers and he has tallied them. These are a raft of the proposals in that amendment bill, and Moses Kuria have actually questioned. In his verdict, he's given verdict that say that is a recipe for chaos. The reason why I also feel like, as much as it might be done in goodwill and also in terms of President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to see loopholes of maybe another coup d'etat happening in 2022, just like in 2017, because he has mentioned that the Supreme Court will not nullify election on the grounds that voters were actually only identified manually, that voters were not identified electronically. It's not giving that exclusivity to electronic voter registration, voter identification. But remember, the registration was done biometric electronically, biometric voter registration. So guys, one thing, this bill is being sponsored by the state. That is what is making it look like a political tool that the state use, because the voters might actually think that the state is trying to micromanage elections. I think what they would have done, they would have liaised with IBC so that it becomes a joint bill. They go and IBC petitions Parliament, or maybe goes and present this report to a parliamentary committee, that from that moment it rises and gets to the House of the floor. But the fact that it is coming from IBC, that makes it a little bit, people read some suspicion in it that maybe there are some underhand deals behind it. Now, secondly, this bill, there is something that for me I support. In fact, according to curricular report, there is somewhere that says that the voters actually ought to have been allowed to vote even with a national ID card or a passport. So the fact that they're going to allow both the electronic and manual is going to help a big turnout. And many people, no one is going to walk to a polling station and turn away simply because his name is not there. Even though the catch is, this clause might be used to allow the ghost voters to vote. Oh my goodness. And I think that is what some people are saying, that on the grounds of this comprehensive manual voter identification, we might see the rebirth of ghost voters, something that Raila once mentioned in 2017, that people came from the grave, went, voted, then went back to the grave. So I don't know, that is also one of the perspectives. But then, secondly, the timing and the hurry in it. People might actually feel like it is not what exactly is needed. Lastly, I need to mention something. I read in the New York Times, and I think it is the article that we're seeing here, that in 2017, after IBC had announced the results, they were told to bring some of the forms from the polling station, and 10,000 files were missing. So because these 10,000 Form 32B from polling stations were missing, they could not be seen, not online, not anywhere. Then the ones that were received did not have watermark, were not signed, and then were faulty. And those are some of the grounds that the High Court, the Supreme Court used, parameters that Supreme Court used to rule out the President Uhuru Kenyatta's win. So I think that is why they are saying that before IEBC announces the president-elect, they must receive all these forms. So Moses Kuria, according to him, he has mentioned that this is recipe for chaos. The Jubilee and ODM side seems to be supporting it because it is being fronted by majority leader. But then it is a ground for a showdown between Jubilee, between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza coalition members of parliament. Guys, what is your take on this? Do you think there is something sinister, or the politicians are just reading more from what is an elaborate process? And again, lastly, someone help us understand. Is there a law that says you cannot change election law 6 months to general election or 8 months to general election? A lawyer somewhere here can help us get that understanding. And guys, thank you very much for watching.